Are you really selling your silver because it pulled back from $84?
Forget the $60 paper price for just one moment.
Because this moment
While Wall Street was
matters.
busy rigging the casino last night,
Are you abandoning one of
something
the most
happened in Seoul,
asymmetric
South Korea,
opportunities of
that
your
makes the banking
lifetime
manipulation look like
because
a
of a
rounding
shallow
error?
dip engineered
Ladies and
to
gentlemen,
scare you out?
Asian guy here,
If that's the
we have
case,
received
then
confirmation,
you're not
technical
reacting to
confirmation,
markets.
of a technology
You're
that doesn't
reacting
just
to
change the
fear.
electric vehicle market,
And fear is the
it changes
most
the periodic
expensive
table
emotion
of
in
commodities.
finance.
For 10 years,
For days
the
I
bears have
warned
told
you this wasn't a
silver
collapse.
is just a byproduct.
It was a
Silver is
microscopic
plentiful.
correction, a
Silver is
liquidity
dead.
grab designed to flush out
told
weak
you that
hands
industry
before
was
the
moving
real
away from
move
silver.
begins.
They told you
And
that
right on schedule,
thrifting in
silver
solar
snapped
panels
back.
would kill the
January
demand.
6th.
They were wrong.
New York
They
session
were
price hits
dangerously,
80 again.
catastrophically
The
wrong.
pullback is over.
What I
The
am
next
about to
leg
show you
started.
is the silver
This
bomb.
is how real markets
It is a single
behave before
technological breakthrough that is
repricing,
mathematically
not how
guaranteed
retail
to
traders are
consume the
taught to believe
entire
they
global
behave.
mine supply of silver
Before I
within
go
3
further,
years.
you need to understand who
We're
you're
talking
listening
about
to.
the Samsung solid-state
I wasn't
battery.
trained by
We're talking
YouTube
about a
charts or
9-minute
social
charge
media
time.
gurus.
And we're talking
I
about
was
a number
raised
that the bullion
inside
banks are
this
terrified
system.
of. 1
I
kilogram.
watched capital
That is how
move
much physical
markets,
silver
not
is
chase
required
them.
for every single car.
I learned
If you
early
thought the
that
solar
price
squeeze
does not
was big,
respond to indicators.
you have no idea what is coming.
Indicators
Solar
respond
was
to
the
power.
appetizer. This is the main course.
Once you see that
And the
distinction,
table is
the
empty.
market becomes
Let's
disturbingly
strip away the
predictable.
marketing fluff.
Here is the truth most people
Samsung
can't
SDI
handle.
has been teasing
Corrections are
solid
not
state for
laws of
years.
nature. They are
Everyone has.
narratives,
Toyota,
tools,
QuantumScape,
weapons.
Panasonic.
When large
It
players
became a
want more
buzzword.
inventory, they manufacture
But as
doubt.
of late
They trigger
2025,
stops. They
Samsung has
amplify
done something
fear.
the others haven't.
And while
They
the
confirmed
crowd
mass
panics, they
production for
accumulate
2027.
quietly.
This isn't a lab
That
experiment
script
anymore.
has repeated for
This
decades,
is a factory
and
build-out.
silver is following it
Why is this
perfectly
specific
right
battery
now.
different?
This
Because of
move
the
is not
anode.
about charts.
In a traditional
It's not
lithium-ion
about
battery,
RSI.
the one in your phone,
It's not about
the one in a
whether silver
2024
looks
Tesla,
expensive. It's
the
about
anode is made of
positioning ahead
graphite
of
or
a structural
silicon.
shift that
It works, but
most
it
people
has
won't
limits.
recognize
It expands.
until it's already
It degrades.
irreversible.
It charges slowly because
What
the
you're
lithium
witnessing
ions
is
have
not
to physically
volatility,
intercalate,
it's
wiggle into
preparation.
the graphite structure.
Pay
Samsung
attention to
threw
what
the
happens
graphite
next,
out.
because
They
this
replaced
series
it
is
with a
not
silver
just about
carbon,
silver pricing.
Ag-C
It's
composite
about
layer.
how power
Why silver?
operates beneath the
Because
surface
silver
of
is the
markets,
most conductive metal
how
on
capital
Earth.
thinks,
But more importantly,
and how wealth
in this
is
specific
preserved
chemical
when
reaction,
systems begin to crack.
silver has a unique property.
If you understand
it creates
this
a
chapter,
solid solution
the rest
with
will
lithium.
change how you see
When you
money
charge this battery,
forever.
the lithium ions
If this
rush through
perspective
this
resonates
solid
with you,
electrolyte.
press 1 in the
They hit this
comments to
silver
continue
carbon layer.
to Chapter
The
2.
silver acts as a
If you
landing
want to
pad.
stop here, press 2.
It dissolves the lithium
And if you
instantly,
value
creating a
analysis
smooth,
like this,
flat layer
subscribe
of
to the
lithium
channel
metal.
and comment
It
1 so I
prevents
know you're
dendrites.
ready to go deeper.
Dendrites are the enemy.
To understand
They
what's
are the
happening
jagged
now,
metal
you need to
spikes
zoom
that
out
grow
far
inside
beyond
batteries
today's
and cause
price
them
action.
to explode.
This story
The
didn't
silver
begin
layer
at
stops them.
$80 or
It
even
creates a
at
perfect,
40.
uniform
It
distribution
began
of energy.
decades ago when the
This allows
global
three things
monetary
that were
system
previously
quietly
impossible.
severed itself
Energy
from reality.
density, 500
Since the early
watt-hours per
70s,
kilogram.
money stopped being a
That is
claim
double
on
the
something
density
real
of a current Tesla
and
battery.
became a
Means
promise
the battery
backed
is
by
half the
confidence
size and half the
alone.
weight.
And
Range,
confidence, unlike
600
metal,
miles,
evaporates.
966
I've watched this cycle
kilometers
repeat
on a
more
single
times
charge.
than I can count.
That kills
The
range
pattern
anxiety
is
forever.
always the same. First,
Speed,
debt
and this
expands
is a game
faster
changer.
than production.
A full charge in 9 minutes.
Then currency
Think
is
about that.
diluted to paper.
You pull into
over
a station,
structural problems.
you plug in,
Finally,
you go buy a
real
coffee,
assets begin
you
to
come out,
reprice, not
you're full.
gradually, but
It is the same
violently.
experience as pumping gas.
Silver is not
This removes
rising
the final
because it
barrier
suddenly
to
became
EV
more
adoption.
useful.
But
It's
physics has
rising
a price.
because everything
The price
else
is silver.
becoming less
Now,
trustworthy.
I need you to follow me on the math.
Most traders never grasp
because this is the
because
math
they're trained
that
to
JP
think
Morgan
in
is
days
trying
and
to hide
weeks.
from you.
But
The
capital
Samsung
that
AGC
survives
anode layer is
thinks
incredibly
in
thin,
decades.
about 5
That's why the
micrometers.
biggest moves always
Critics
feel
say,
irrational
oh, it's
right
thin.
before they
You
become
can't use that much
obvious.
silver.
By the time the
Wrong.
headlines confirm
Surface
them, the
area is
opportunity
massive.
is already
An EV
gone.
battery isn't one big block.
What you're seeing
It is
now is a
thousands of
collision
sheets
between
folded
two
and wound
worlds.
together.
One
The
world
surface area
still
of the
believes
anode and the
price is
100
dictated
kilowatt
by
battery
screens,
pack
contracts,
is roughly
and
the size
narrative.
of 2 football
The other
fields.
understands that
To
price
coat
is
that
dictated
surface
by
area,
scarcity
even with a
control
5
and
micron
necessity.
layer, requires a
When
significant
those
amount
two
of material.
worlds collide, paper
The scientific
breaks
papers,
first.
specifically the Nature
Silver sits
Energy
at the center of this
publication that this
conflict.
tech is
It's
based
monetary,
on, detail the
industrial,
loading
and
requirements.
strategic all
It comes out to
at
approximately
once.
5 grams of
It
silver
can't be replaced
per
easily.
ampere
It
hour.
can't be
Hey,
printed, and it can't
let's
be
scale that up
scaled
to a vehicle.
on demand. That
A standard
makes it
premium
dangerous
EV
in a
battery is
system built on
100 kilowatt,
infinite promises.
based on the voltage and capacity
Dangerous
configurations
assets are
Samsung
always
is using.
suppressed until they
The math
can no
resolves to
longer will be
approximately
contained.
1,000 grams of
Every
silver
sharp
per
dip,
vehicle.
every sudden scare, every
1
headline
kilogram.
questioning
32.
sustainability serves
15
one purpose:
troy
to transfer
ounces.
metal from
Look at
emotional
this bar.
hands to
This is what
disciplined
goes into
ones.
every single car.
This is not random
Currently,
behavior.
a Tesla Model
It's
Y uses maybe
strategic
20 to
redistribution.
30 grams of silver.
And once that
mostly in the circuit
redistribution
boards, the
reaches
contacts,
critical
the
mass,
switches.
price stops
Samsung
asking
just
for permission.
increased the silver load per vehicle
The
by
mistake most people make is
3,000%.
assuming
Do
today
you
will
understand what this
behave
does
like
to the supply-demand
yesterday.
charts?
But
It breaks
systems
them,
don't
it
change
snaps
gradually.
the line in half.
They hold together until they don't.
Let's run the adoption
When confidence
scenarios.
fractures, repricing
Global EV
happens
production
faster
is
than
projected to
logic can
reach
keep up
30
with.
million units per year by the
This
late
is why
2020s.
timing sentiment matters more than
Scenario
timing
A,
entries.
the niche
And right now,
product,
sentiment
10%
is still
adoption.
hesitant. That tells you
Let's say
everything
only
you
the
need to
super
know
rich
about where
buy
we
these
are in the
cars.
cycle.
Only the BMW
Let me
7
explain why this
Series
moment
and the
feels
Audi
chaotic
A8.
to most people, but
3
feels
million
obvious
cars,
to those
X
who
1
understand
kilo
power.
silver,
Markets
3,000
are not
metric
democracies.
tons.
They are
That is
hierarchies.
96 million ounces.
Price doesn't move
That is
because millions
12%
agree
of
it
the
moves
entire
because a
global
few
mine
with scale
supply.
decide. And when
Just
those
for the
decisions
high-end
align with
luxury market.
necessity, not
Scenario
speculation,
B, the mainstream
outcome
shift,
becomes inevitable.
20% adoption.
I've seen this
Samsung
playbook
partners with
deployed across
Stellantis,
commodities,
GM,
currencies,
Ford.
and entire
6 million
economies.
cars, x 1
First
kilo
comes
of silver,
distraction.
which are worth 6,000
Headlines
metric
multiply.
tons.
Opinions
That is
conflict.
192
Analysts
million ounces.
argue over indicators
We are now
while
talking
missing
about
the only
consuming
question that
25%
matters:
of
who
all the
needs this
silver mined on
asset,
Earth.
and why
Scenario
now
C,
silver
the
is no
standard.
longer a trade.
50% adoption.
It's a requirement.
This is where the math
Nations
becomes
don't buy
impossible.
metals the way traders
If 15
do.
million cars
They don't
use
care
this
about
tech,
overbought signals
that
or
is
pullbacks.
480 million
They
ounces
care
of
about
silver.
continuity,
That is 60% of
supply
the global mine
security.
supply. We only mine
Strategic
850
leverage.
million ounces a year.
When governments and
Solar panels
institutions
already
step
eat
in, the
200
rules
million.
change. The market
Electronics
stops
eat
being about
300 million.
profit
Jewelry
and starts
eats
being
200
about
million.
survival.
Investment eats 250 million.
This is where retail
We're
consistently
already in a
misreads
deficit
reality.
of 200
They see
million
a
ounces
dip
a year.
and assume weakness.
Where are we going to find
Power
another
sees a dip and
480
sees
million ounces for
opportunity.
Samsung?
That difference is
Doesn't
why wealth
exist.
transfers
There is no
during
stockpile big
volatility,
enough.
not during
There's no
stability.
mine big enough. So
The
what
calm
happens?
periods
The price has
are
to
where
rise to a
stories are
level
told.
that destroys other demand.
The violent
Jewelry has to
periods
stop.
are where ownership
Investment has to
changes.
stop. Solar has
Watch
to bid
how
higher.
quickly fear
Car
spreads
companies,
compared
Samsung,
to
BMW,
understanding.
Toyota have the
One
deepest
red
pockets in the
candle
room.
and
If
conviction
Samsung
collapses.
needs silver to build a $100,000
Beneath
car,
that panic,
they will pay
inventory is being
$200 an ounce
absorbed.
for it.
Physical
Because
supply
$200
is being
an ounce
removed
times
from
32
circulation
ounces is
quietly,
$6,400.
methodically, and
A
permanently.
$100,000
Once
car,
it's gone, price doesn't
$6,400
negotiate,
battery
it
cost is
adjusts.
painful.
This is
But
why
it is
silver
possible.
doesn't need
For
permission
you,
to rise.
buying a silver eagle at
If the demand
$200
is
is hard.
real and the
For
supply
Samsung,
is
it
constrained,
is a cost
price
of doing
follows.
business. They will outbid
Always.
you. They will
The
outbid
myth
the
of fair
mints.
value
They will
collapses when
outbid the
necessity
jewelers.
enters the
They will
equation.
suck every available
Fair
ounce of
value is
silver
whatever
into the
clears the
automotive
market
supply
when
chain.
buyers refuse to step
I
aside.
don't think this is just Samsung
Most people
talking
won't
a big game.
recognize this until
They have
volatility
buyers.
becomes unignorable.
We've seen this reports on a
until
partnership
gaps
with
appear,
BMW.
until liquidity
BMW
vanishes,
is launching the Neue Klasse,
until prices
new class
move
vehicles
faster
in
than emotion
2027.
can process.
They have publicly stated
By
they are
then, the
moving to
window is
solid-state
closed.
batteries.
Understanding
Samsung
this
SDI is
now
their
isn't
partner.
about being early.
Rumors suggest
It's about
BMW
not
has
being
already
late.
pre-ordered
The
500,000
difference
units
between the two
for the
defines
2027-2028 model
Now
years.
we arrive at the
Let's
part
do
of the
that math.
story most people
500,000
overlook because
cars,
it doesn't show
1
up on
kilo
a
per
price
car,
chart.
500 metric
While
tons of
traders
silver,
argue
that
over
is
technical
16 million
levels,
ounces.
nations are locking
That
in
is just
supply
one car
chains.
company for one
And when
model
supply
line,
chains
effectively
harden,
removing
markets stop
16 million
behaving
ounces
politely.
from the COMEX before the
This
year
is where
even
strategy
starts.
replaces
And
speculation.
here is the force majeure connection.
Silver is not being
How does
accumulated for
BMW
profit
guarantee
alone.
that silver? They don't
It's
buy
being
futures
accumulated
contracts.
for
They don't buy
control.
SLV.
Control
They
over
sign
production,
offtake
over
agreements
technology,
directly with
over
the miners.
military capability.
They go to Fresnillo.
In
They
the
go to
modern world,
KGHM.
metals are
They
not
go to Glencore.
commodities, they are
And they say,
leverage.
we will buy your next 5
What
years
happens
of
when a
production.
resource
Here's
becomes
the cash.
strategically essential?
This is
It
why the
gets
COMEX
removed
inventory is
from
frozen.
the open market.
This is why the
quietly
registered
at first.
stocks are draining.
Then suddenly,
the metal is
and
bypassing
once that
the
process
exchange
begins,
entirely.
price
It is going from the
ceases to
mine
reflect
directly to the
abundance and
Samsung
starts
factory in
reflecting
Hungary.
urgency.
The public market, the
That
one you trade on,
transition is
the one where
exactly
you
what
see
we're
the price,
witnessing now.
is becoming a market of
The public
scraps.
never sees this phase
The main
clearly
course has
because
already
it
been eaten
unfolds
by the
behind
industrial
closed
giants.
doors.
But wait,
Contracts are
it gets
signed,
worse.
facilities
Because
are
while
funded,
Samsung is
infrastructure
targeting
is built.
2027,
By the time
China
headlines
is
catch up,
targeting now.
supply has already
BYD,
been redirected.
build your dreams.
The visible
The
market
biggest
is left
EV maker in
competing
the
over
world.
what remains.
They just unveiled their 5-minute
This is why the
charging
recent
infrastructure.
pullback mattered so little.
Do you think they are achieving
It wasn't
5-minute
a
charging with
rejection
old school
of
graphite
higher
anodes?
prices.
Physics
It was a
says no.
final
We have
opportunity
intelligence
for
from the Shenzhen
redistribution
tech sector that
before supply
BYD is testing a
becomes
hybrid
structurally
solid battery.
tighter.
It uses
When
less silver
availability
than
contracts,
Samsung,
volatility
maybe 500
increases.
grams instead of
And when
1,000
volatility
grams.
increases,
But they are
weak
deploying it faster
conviction
in higher volume.
exits.
BYD sold 3
Every
million
major
EVs
repricing
in
event in
2024.
history
If they
followed
convert just
this
30% of their fleet to
First
this new
denial,
silver-heavy
then
tech to
confusion,
compete with
then
Samsung,
disbelief,
1 million
and
cars,
finally
x
acceptance
500
at prices
grams,
that once seemed
500
impossible.
metric tons,
The emotional arc
another
never
16
changes,
million
only
ounces.
the asset does.
And that is just the start.
Silver is
If
entering the
BYD
phase where
puts this in
decisions
every
made
car,
today echo for years.
3 million cars,
not
x
weeks.
500 grams, are
Years.
48 million ounces.
Those who understand
Between
this
BMW
don't
and
rush.
BYD,
They
we have just
position and
accounted for
wait,
nearly 100
because
million
once the
ounces
shift
of
is
new
complete,
demand.
there is no
That wipes
second
out the
chance.
entire global surplus of the last
At this
decade.
stage, the most dangerous
Gone.
mistake is underestimating
We haven't
speed.
even talked about Tesla yet.
Structural
The car
shifts don't
business
move
is a game
slowly
of
once they're
follow the
exposed.
leader.
They
If
move in
Samsung
bursts.
partnered with
Pressure
BMW
builds invisibly,
releases a
then
car
releases
that
violently.
charges in 9 minutes.
That's
Do you
why
think
people
Elon
who
Musk
wait
is
for
going to sit
comfort
back and
always
sell
pay
a
the
Tesla that
highest
takes
price.
30 minutes to charge?
Right now, two
Do you think
forces are
Mercedes
colliding.
is going to let BMW
One
steal
is
the
the
entire
belief that
luxury
markets
market?
will behave the way
Absolutely
they
not.
always have.
They have to
The
match
other
the
is
spec.
the reality
And to match
that
the
the
spec,
system
they have to
supporting
match
that
the chemistry.
behavior is
This brings us to the
deteriorating.
Tesla panic
When
that is
belief
unfolding
meets
right now in the
reality,
mountains of
reality
Peru.
always wins.
For the last 5
Silver
years,
sits
Tesla has been betting the
precisely
farm
at
on the
that
4680
intersection.
battery. It was
Look at how
supposed to be
narratives
cheaper,
are formed.
faster,
When prices
better,
rise, the story
but
is
it has a
speculation.
fatal flaw.
When
It
prices
uses a
fall,
graphite
the story
anode.
is collapse.
It is physically
Both
incapable of
are
9-minute
distractions.
charging without
The
overheating.
real signal is what's
When the
happening
Samsung
to
specs leaked in
availability.
late 2024,
When metal
we
leaves
received
circulation
reports
and
that
doesn't
the
come
mood
back,
inside
price
Tesla
has no
HQ
choice but
shifted
to
from
adjust upward
confidence
regardless of
to
sentiment.
crisis.
This is
Elon
why
Musk knows that
short-term
speed
thinking
is the new
fails here.
horsepower.
People
So
want
what did they do?
confirmation, but
They sent their
confirmation
battery
only
partner,
comes after
Panasonic,
repricing.
on a shopping spree.
By
We
the
have
time
intelligence
certainty
backed
arrives,
by recent
upside
global
is
reports in
already
Lima
consumed.
that Panasonic
This is not a trade
executives
for applause.
have been in Peru
It's
since
a
November
position
2025.
for outcomes.
They aren't there for tourism.
The
They are there to lock
smartest
up silver
capital
supply.
understands something simple.
Peru is the world's third
Volatility
largest
is
silver
not risk
producer.
exposure,
But
is
unlike
being
Mexico, where
exposed to
the mines
promises
are
in a
largely
system
controlled
built
by
on
established
leverage is
players like
risk.
Fresnillo, Peru
Holding
has a
something
more fragmented
tangible in a
market.
system, losing
Panasonic is
credibility is
reportedly
protection.
negotiating mine-to-factory
That distinction
offtake
matters
agreements.
more now than
They're
at any
bypassing
point in
refiners.
the last half
They're
century.
bypassing the COMEX. They're
What you're
trying to
seeing
buy the
is
ore
not
directly from the
enthusiasm,
ground.
it's
Why?
necessity
Because Panasonic is
asserting
pivoting.
itself.
Search results from
Industries,
September
governments, and
2025 confirm that
institutions don't
Panasonic is
have the
rushing
luxury of
to
waiting.
develop
They
a
secure
new
what
generation
they
battery
need
for
when they
2027.
can.
They
And
call
when
it
they do,
a
they don't
node-free
announce it.
or high capacity.
This is the phase where
But
patience
look at the
becomes
specs they
an
are
edge.
targeting:
Not
900
patience to
kilometer
wait for
range,
lower prices,
faster
but
charging.
patience to
You cannot
sit
get there
through
with graphite.
noise
You get
without
there with
abandoning
silver.
position.
Whether they
because
use
the
the full
noise is
Samsung
designed to
method,
exhaust you
I mean,
before
quantum
resolution
luminesters, or a
arrives.
hybrid method.
If you
of
understand
500
this,
grain,
you're already ahead
the
of
reality
most
is the same.
participants. Not
Tesla
because
is
you're
entering the
smarter,
silver market,
but because you're
Tesla
aligned with
produces 2
reality
million
instead
cars
of
a year,
narratives.
and they put just 500
This is where
grams of
pressure
silver in
becomes
each
visible.
one.
When
That
supply
is
tightens
32
enough,
million
markets
ounces of new
stop moving
demand.
smoothly.
That is roughly the
Gaps
entire
appear.
annual production of the
Liquidity
Lucky
thins.
Friday mine.
Price starts
times
jumping
5.
instead of climbing.
This is a bidding war.
And that's
It is
when
Samsung
psychology
versus Tesla
plays.
versus BYD.
Not gradually, but
And
all
the prize
at
is the
once.
microscopic amount of
Most
silver dust
participants are
available
not
on planet
prepared
Earth.
for that environment.
Now the
They've been
skeptics,
conditioned to
the guys at
expect
Goldman
orderly
Sachs who
behavior.
are short silver,
Support
will
levels,
tell you,
pullbacks,
don't worry about the
mean
mine
reversion.
supply. We will just
But those
recycle
rules
the silver
only
from old
apply
batteries.
when supply is elastic
This
and
is the
confidence is
recycling myth.
intact.
And
When
it
neither
is logically
true,
bankrupt.
price discovery
Here is
becomes
why.
violent.
The Samsung
You can already see the
solid-state
early
battery has
signs.
a warranted
Moves
lifespan
that
of
used to
20
take
years.
weeks now happen in
If you buy a
days.
Samsung-powered
Reversals
BMW
are
in
sharp.
2027,
Dips are
that
shallow.
car stays on the road until
Every
2047.
attempt to push
The
price
1
down
kilogram
is
of silver
met with
inside that
immediate
battery is
absorption.
locked away
That
for 2
tells
decades.
you demand is
It
no
cannot be
longer
recycled because
speculative.
it is
It's
still being
functional.
used. This is
This
what
is
we
also
call
when
a
paper
stock flow
mechanisms start to
trap.
fail.
In the
Contracts
short term,
depend
the
on
next
trust,
15 years,
on
the
the
flow of silver
assumption
is
that
one
delivery
way
is possible if
into the
required.
car.
When
Zero
so many
comes out.
participants want the
We won't see
same
any
thing
significant
at the
recycling
same
supply
time,
from
that
these
assumption
batteries
gets
until the
tested,
mid-2040s.
and tested assumptions
But the
either
demand is
hold
happening
or
now.
collapse.
So where does the metal come
The
from
critical
today?
mistake people
It
make
has to
here
come
is
from the mines.
overtrading.
Or
They
it
confuse
has to come from your
activity
stack.
with intelligence.
This is why the price has to go
They sell
vertical.
strength,
The
buy
market has to
weakness, and turn
incentivize you to
themselves
melt
out of
down your
position,
silverware.
while larger
It has
forces
to
remain
incentivize
steady.
you to sell your eagles.
The ones who win
Because
do
the
less, not
secondary
more.
supply from
They
cars
understand that alignment
is
matters
zero
more
for the
than
next
timing.
generation. Another
Once
argument
momentum
we hear,
shifts from
they will
emotional
just
to
thrift it
structural,
out.
it
They will
doesn't
use
ask for
copper instead.
validation. It
This
accelerates.
is the solar panel
Shorts
argument.
become fuel.
In
Hesitation
solar,
becomes
they
regret.
did reduce the amount of silver
And
per panel.
narratives flip from
They went from
dismissal to
500
urgency almost
milliamps
overnight.
to 80 milliamps. They
This
got
is the
efficient.
window where
But
resolve
a battery
matters,
is not
not
a solar
bravado.
panel.
Resolve.
In a solid-state battery,
The
the
ability
silver
to
isn't
sit
just a
still while
conductor.
everything
It is a
around you
structural host.
screams for action.
The silver carbon layer
That's
is
what
what
separates
physically holds
participants
the
from
lithium ions in
beneficiaries.
place. If
Now
you
we
remove
enter
silver,
the phase where
the lithium
perception
forms
lags
dendrites,
reality by a
spikes,
dangerous
and
margin.
the battery explodes.
This is when
Copper
most
doesn't
people
work.
finally
It
sense that
reacts with the
something is wrong,
electrolyte.
but they still can't
Aluminum doesn't
articulate
work.
it.
It
Prices
expands too
feel
much.
unstable.
Only silver works.
News feels
Physics
contradictory.
does not negotiate.
Confidence
You cannot
erodes
thrift the
quietly.
silver out of this chemistry
And
without
beneath it all, the
sacrificing the
structure
9-minute charge
continues
time.
to shift.
And since the 9-minute
This
charge
is not
time
the
is the
moment
entire
of
selling
panic
point of the
yet.
car,
This is the
they won't cut
moment
it.
of disbelief.
The
The
thrifting
stage where
wall
people
has
say,
been hit.
this can't last.
Samsung
Right
needs the
before
full
it does,
5-micron
they search
layer.
for explanations
That
that
means
fit
the 1
old
kilogram per
frameworks
car
instead of
figure is
accepting that the
sticky.
framework
It isn't
itself
going
is
down.
breaking. That
We have
delay
to talk
is
about
costly.
the data that is being suppressed.
When markets
the
reach
Silver
this point,
Institute
behavior
is the
changes
official body
faster
that
than
tracks
logic.
supply and demand. For
Participants who
years,
dismiss
they
the
have been
move begin
criticized for
chasing it.
underreporting demand.
Those who
They
sold
often
earlier
ignore
look for
military
re-entry.
use and
Those who
clandestine
hesitated
inventory
feel
builds.
pressure.
But
And those who
we have received
positioned
information
early
about
do
their upcoming
nothing at all.
2026 interim
They
report.
simply
They are
observe.
preparing to make a massive revision.
What matters now
In
is not
2024,
prediction,
they pegged total
but
demand
alignment.
at roughly 1
You don't
2
need
billion
perfect
ounces.
timing when you're
Leaks
aligned with
suggest
the
that for
dominant force. You only need
2026,
the
they are
discipline to
adjusting
stay
that number
put.
to 1.
That
5 5
sound
billion
simple,
ounces.
but it's
Why the
psychologically
300
brutal.
million ounce jump?
Because volatility
Footnotes
attacks
allegedly
conviction,
cite
not analysis.
unanticipated acceleration in automotive
This is where
sector
narratives
offtake
flip.
and
Assets
solid-state
once
pilot
mocked
programs.
become essential. Prices once
Think about
called
that.
unsustainable
They're admitting
become inevitable.
behind closed doors
The same
that
voices
demand is
that
jumping
dismiss
by
the move
25%
begin
in a
justifying it
single
after
year.
the fact.
We are already in a
By
deficit
then,
of
the
200
easy
million
part is
ounces.
over.
If demand jumps another
History's
300
unforgiving
million,
here. It doesn't
the deficit
reward
becomes
intelligence,
500 million
it rewards
ounces per year.
positioning.
We only mine
The winners
850
are
million.
rarely
If
those
the
who call the
deficit is
top or
500
bottom.
million,
They're the ones
that
who
means
understood
we
the
are consuming
direction
60%
early and
more silver
refused
than
to
we
be
mine.
shaken out when
Where does
doubt
the
was
extra
loudest.
500 million ounces come from?
You are not
The
witnessing
vaults
a
are empty.
normal cycle.
The registered
You are
inventory is
witnessing
30 million.
repricing under
The eligible
constraint.
inventory is frozen.
And when
This
repricing
is a
happens under
mathematical
constraint,
impossibility.
it overshoots.
When a market hits a
not because of
mathematical
greed,
impossibility,
but because
the price
scarcity doesn't
reprices.
negotiate.
It doesn't go up 10%.
If you can
it
hold
goes up
through this
10x.
phase, the rest
Let's look at
becomes
this from the
simple.
perspective of the
Not easy.
CEO of BMW.
Simple.
You are building
This is
a
the point where consequences
$120,000
replace
luxury
theory.
super sedan.
When systems
The
strain
i7
long enough, they
solid-state
reveal
edition.
what was hidden.
It
Weak
needs
links
1 kilogram of
snap,
silver.
assumptions
right
fail,
now,
and
silver
markets
is
stop
roughly
pretending that
$70.
everything is fine.
So the
This
silver
phase
cost
doesn't
is
announce itself politely.
$250.
It arrives
that is
through acceleration.
8% of the car's price.
By now, price is no
Negligible.
longer the message. Availability
Now, imagine silver
is.
goes to $200
When
an
something
ounce,
cannot
the
be
silver cost
sourced
becomes
easily,
$6,400.
its value
That is 5.
recalibrates
3%
instantly,
of the car's
not
price.
linearly.
Does BMW cancel the
exponentially.
car?
This is why
No.
late-stage moves
They just
feel
raised the price of
irrational
the
to
car to
observers, but feel unavoidable to participants who
$126,000.
understand
The customer
supply
buying a
dynamics.
six-figure car doesn't
The
care about
biggest
an extra
misunderstanding at this
$6 for a
stage is
9-minute
believing
charge
that
time.
higher prices
They
will
pay it.
create more supply.
This is called inelastic demand.
That logic works.
The industrial user
for
must have the
discretionary
metal to build the
goods.
product.
It does
The
not
price
work
of the
for
metal is a
constrained
small
resources.
fraction of the final product
Mining
cost.
cannot
So
be
they will pay
scaled
any
overnight.
price.
Processing
Compare that
cannot
to
be
you.
rushed.
If silver goes to
Infrastructure
$200,
takes
are you going to
years,
run
not
out and buy a
quarters.
monster box for
Demand, however,
$100,000?
can surge
Probably not.
in weeks.
You might sell. But
This
Samsung
imbalance
will buy.
is where repricing
BMW
becomes
will buy.
violent.
Tesla
Buyers
will
stop
buy.
waiting.
They have the
Sellers
capacity
stop
to absorb
offering.
$200
Spreads
silver
widen.
or even $500
Volatility
silver.
spikes.
They will
And
simply
suddenly
pass the
yesterday's
cost to the
expenses
consumer.
becomes today's
This is why the
reference
price
point.
cap is gone.
That shift
There's no logical
happens
reason
faster
why
than
silver
confidence
stops
can
at
adapt.
$50 or $100.
Psychologically, this
The
is
pain
exhausting.
point
Every
for
instinct
the
tells
auto
people
industry
to
is
secure
likely
profits,
closer
to
to
reduce exposure,
$1,000
to
an ounce.
regain a sense of control.
$1,000 an ounce.
But
The
control
silver
is an
costs
illusion in transitions
$32,000
like
per
this.
car.
The
That
only
is
real
when they
choice
stop.
is whether you're aligned
But
with the
between
force driving the
$70 and
move or resisting
$1,000,
it.
it is open road.
Those who resist
If the
focus
Samsung
on
battery
levels.
was the only story,
Those who align
silver would be
focus on
going to $100.
conditions. And
If
the
the industrial
conditions
shortage
now
was the only
are
story,
clear,
silver would be going to
constrained supply, structural
$150.
demand, and a
But there is a
system
third pillar
losing
to this
credibility.
crisis. And it is the one that
Those
turns a
variables converge,
shortage
price
into an
does not
extinction
drift.
event.
It revalues.
War.
This is why
While we were
patience
analyzing
here is
battery
not
chemistry in
passive,
part
it's
1,
active
part 2,
restraint.
a
The
different
discipline
kind
to
of
let
signal
outcomes
started flashing in
unfold without
Washington,
interference.
D.C.
Most people
It is an
fail not
indicator
because
that
they
has
were wrong,
predicted
but
the
because
Gulf
they
War,
couldn't sit still
the
long
invasion
enough
of
to be
Panama,
right.
and the start of
By
the
this
Ukraine
stage,
conflict.
the question is no
It isn't
longer
a stock chart.
if
It isn't a
repricing
satellite
happens,
image.
but how
It is a
violently.
pizza box. For
This
those who
is where
don't know,
denial
the Pentagon
gives
Pizza
way to
Index is a
urgency.
real phenomenon.
Where
When the Pentagon
institutions
is
that
planning a
waited too
major
long are
operation,
forced to act
when
at
the generals are
unfavorable
staying up all
prices,
night in the Situation Room,
and where the
they
crowd
get
finally
hungry.
realizes
They order
they
pizza.
were never
Local delivery
early,
drivers in Arlington,
they
Virginia,
were
have
distracted.
reported spikes in orders
This
right
is the
before
phase where
every major
markets stop
conflict of the
offering
last
clean
30
entries.
years.
Moves
Yesterday,
happen
December
overnight.
22nd, at
Gaps
11
replace
RPM
pullbacks.
EST.
Volatility
The index didn't
becomes
just spike,
asymmetric.
it broke the chart.
Upside
We
expands
have reports
faster
of
than
delivery drivers
downside
being
because
turned away
sellers
at security
disappear.
checkpoints because
Not
the
because
volume
they're
was too
optimistic,
high.
but
The lights at
because
the
they
Pentagon were on all
understand
night.
replacement risk.
Why? What
Once
are they
you
preparing
sell,
for?
you may not get
They're
back
preparing
in.
for the news that just
Here,
broke on the
psychology
AP wire
flips
this morning.
completely.
Russia is
Fear no
evacuating
longer
the families
comes
of its
from
diplomats
loss, it
from
comes from
Venezuela.
exclusion.
This is not a
From
drill.
watching price
when a
run
superpower
without
pulls
you,
its civilians
from
out of a
realizing
proxy
that the
state,
asset you
it means
dismissed
kinetic action
is
is
now
imminent.
out of
It means the
reach.
Cold War in South
That
America
fear is
about
far
to
more
turn hot.
powerful than the fear
And
of
you have to ask
drawdowns,
yourself,
and it drives far
why does a
more
silver investor
aggressive
care
behavior.
about Venezuela?
This is when
Venezuela
leverage
doesn't
becomes
produce
lethal.
much silver,
Those who
but its
chase
neighbors do.
late with borrowed
Venezuela
capital
shares
are
a
forced
border
out
with
by
the
volatility.
destabilized region that
Margin
feeds into
calls
Peru and
hit
Chile.
at the worst
If
possible
Venezuela
moments.
becomes a
Forced
theater of
selling
war,
feeds
if
stronger
the U.S.
hands.
Navy blockades the
cycle
Caribbean,
feeds itself.
the supply
Wealth
lines from
transfers
South America
rapidly,
are
and
cut.
it does so without
Peru
sentiment
is the
polls
world's
or
third
warning
largest
signs.
silver producer.
At the same
Chile
time,
is a
narratives
massive
rewrite
copper
history.
silver producer. If those
What was
shipping
once
lanes are
framed as
compromised,
speculation
the
is
Panama
suddenly
Canal is
described
restricted,
as foresight.
Panasonic, Tesla,
Media
and
scrambles
Samsung
to
cannot
explain
get their
moves that
silver.
were obvious in
The
hindsight,
Pentagon
but
Pizza
uncomfortable
Index
in
is
real
telling us that
time.
the supply chain isn't just
By then, the
empty,
groundwork
it is
has
about to
already
be
been
severed.
laid.
This brings us
This
to
is
the
also
most
where
terrifying
discipline is
competitor
tested
for silver.
one final
It's
time.
not Samsung.
Not the discipline to
it's
buy,
not Tesla.
but the
It is
discipline to
Raytheon.
hold.
We talked
Because
about how a
temptation
Samsung
peaks
car
here,
needs 1 kilogram,
the numbers look
32
unreal,
ounces
the gains
of silver.
feel fragile,
Do you know what else needs silver?
and the urge to lock it
Tomahawk
in is
cruise missile.
overwhelming.
Estimates
But
from
this
defense
is where the
contractors
largest
suggest
moves
that the guidance
still lie
system, the
ahead.
contacts, and the high-performance
Transitions
batteries
do not resolve
inside a
gently.
single Tomahawk missile
resolve
consume roughly
decisively.
500 ounces, 15
And
kilograms
those who remain
of
aligned
silver.
through this phase don't
Why?
need to predict the top.
Because when you're flying a
simply
missile
let the
at
process
500 miles per
complete.
hour into a bunker,
This is
you
where
cannot afford a
perspective matters
connection error.
most.
You need the most
When a
conductive
system
on
reaches
Earth.
the end of
You
its
need silver.
credibility,
You don't use
outcomes
copper in a
are
kill
no
chain.
longer
You
negotiable.
use silver.
They
Here's the
are
problem.
resolved.
In 2024
Not in theory,
and
but in
2025,
consequence.
the U.S. military
And the
depleted
people
its
who emerge
stockpiles.
intact
We fired
are
missiles
not
in the
the
Red
ones
Sea.
who
We
reacted
shipped missiles to
fastest,
Ukraine.
but the
We shipped
ones
missiles
who
to
positioned
Taiwan.
earliest
The inventory
and
is low.
endured
Now,
longest.
with the Venezuela signal
The lesson
flashing,
here is not about silver
the
alone.
Pentagon
It's
needs to
about
restock.
understanding
They need to build
cycles
thousands of new
trust.
missiles. Thousands of
Every
missiles.
monetary
X
system
500
in
ounces
history
per missile.
eventually trades
Are
stability
millions
for
of ounces of
convenience
strategic
and
demand.
convenience
So
for
now you have a
collapse.
three-way war for the metal.
What survives
Samsung
those
wants it for
transitions
cars,
are
consumer.
assets with no
The Pentagon wants it for
counterparty,
war,
no
strategic.
promise, no
You
permission
want it for wealth
required to
preservation,
exist.
monetary.
That is
Who
why
wins?
tangible
The
assets
Pentagon
always
wins.
reassert themselves
They have the Defense
when
Production
paper
Act.
fails.
They can seize inventory.
Strategy
They can
in
force
moments like
mines
this
to
is
sell
simple,
to them first.
but not easy.
But here is the catch.
Reduce
The
dependence
U.S.
on
doesn't have enough
systems you do
mines.
not control.
We rely on imports.
Favor
We rely on
ownership
Mexico.
over
And
exposure.
Mexico
Choose assets that
is
cannot
no
be
longer our
diluted,
friend.
frozen, seen, or erased
Mexico
by
is the
policy.
Saudi Arabia of
This
silver.
is not about
They are the
chasing
number
price.
one producer
It's
in the
about
world.
preserving
For decades,
agency.
they simply dug it up
Volatility
and shipped it
will
to U.S.
remain.
refiners.
Headlines
It
will
was automatic.
intensify. Opinions
But
will
the political
multiply.
winds have shifted.
None of that changes
We are
the
seeing a
underlying
rise in
reality.
resource nationalism
Scarcity
across
does not
Latin America.
reverse on sentiment.
Mexico has
Structural
already
demand does
nationalized
not
its lithium.
vanish
There
because
are bills in the
commentators
Mexican
are
Congress
uncomfortable
right
when
now proposing the
repricing
nationalization
begins
of
under these
strategic
conditions.
metals,
It tends to
including
overshoot
silver.
before it stabilizes.
Why would they do this?
The
Because they
mistake
see the
most
price
people
going
make
to
is waiting for
$150.
clarity. Clarity
Why would they
only
let a
arrives
Canadian or
after
American mining
resolution.
company